Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. So today I'm going to be discussing Donald Trump being indicted in New York for supposedly paying hush money to a star. This is not something that I'm exactly excited to discuss, but this is something that has been coming up nonstop as a result of my dealings with New York City and New York State, which I've been making public over the past several years. I've had many issues dealing with the city and the state where I have, in my opinion, been able to prove that they are thoroughly incompetent and horrible at their job at every single level. And many people have been saying, since you've had this bad experience, what do you think of what Trump is going through? So from what I understand, it looks like there's about approximately 34 counts, including falsifying business records, as well as some of the Stormy Daniels stuff, where they're claiming that he paid hush money to a porn star. Now, paying hush money to a porn star out of your pocket is one thing, but using campaign finance funds in order to pay money to your attorney and then telling your attorney to turn around and give that money to the porn star so that she doesn't talk when you're claiming that this was a legal expense for the campaign as a result of it going through your attorney, that's kind of... that's kind of in the world of campaign finance issues. And that's one of the things that somebody like me would get in trouble for. I tried to get a ballot initiative done in Massachusetts in the year of 2021, and because I'm new to all of this, I was very close to making some serious mistakes. And had I made those mistakes, had I moved forward, I actually would have been committing a campaign finance violation for which I personally would have been held accountable and responsible for. And that's the way it is. If I make a mistake, even if I'm not intending to make a mistake, even if I'm not trying to use my attorney as a means to pay off a porn star, even if I don't intend to make that mistake, I am still going to be held accountable and responsible because I did something wrong. And it's my personal belief that whether you are a Democrat or Republican, whether you are a pleb wagey or the CEO of Walmart, whether you are a pleb MacBook repairman or a governor, senator, congressman, or president of the United States, that if you break the law and you intend to break the law, that you should be held accountable and responsible for your actions. If you're not held accountable or responsible, everything kind of breaks down. Now, what this really comes down to is, did he do what they are accusing him of? And this is the question that keeps coming up a lot in my comments, which is that how can you possibly believe that he actually did something wrong? How can you believe that they're being honest with it when they've kind of disliked him politically from the get-go? And also, more importantly, because, Lewis, as you've stated, New York City and state are completely incompetent. They are completely corrupt. They get everything wrong. Look, they placed a lien and a warrant on your business, and they sent the information about it to Maine, and they refused to take it off your business until you spent 14 hours on the phone with them. Well, point taken, 100%. However, this is where I will then turn it around. Let's say that this is actually true. Let's say that Donald Trump has done nothing illegal, nothing wrong. All of these transactions were 100% above board, prim and proper, and that New York City or New York State is fabricating evidence or making things up or something like that. Given the fact that New York State and New York City are so dumb, are so above and beyond incompetent and ridiculous and bad at their job, it should be very easy for him to make the case that they are screwing him and railroading him without use of politically charged rhetoric. So a lot of what you've been hearing is that this is a politically charged prosecution because they don't like him. This is so that he won't be able to get reelected and all sorts of stuff. And he is using that to kind of make people mad and angry and not believe the evidence that is being presented. I don't actually think that you even need to do that, because when I talk about New York State or New York City, I tend to do so in a very negative light because of my own personal biases, and also because I believe that the city and the state are run by complete morons and fools that I have absolutely zero respect for. Let me just put that out there, that's my bias. I have no respect for the people that run New York City. I have no respect for the people who run New York State. I was willing to uproot my life, spend over $50,000 moving across the country so that I could start fresh, just so that I never have to step foot in that fucking hole again. That is my bias. That being said, it is because they are that stupid that it should actually be very easy for him to stop using all this politically charged rhetoric and simply say, I'm innocent, here's why. In my videos, I tend to say what I say about New York City, but then I also present my evidence clear as day, and that usually is enough to get the job done. So when it came to the case of my tax issue, I actually save everything right here. Because I am an OCD business owner, I have a binder for each of my businesses, and in those binders are every single one of my returns with a certified mail mailing receipt that demonstrates that the state received and signed for my return. I then have a copy of the check that they cashed and the little stamp that they have when they stamp the check so that I can demonstrate that the amount of money they deposited was for my tax return, and the memo matches the number that was on my return. So they cannot say that they didn't get it. When they say I didn't pay my taxes, I have all of the evidence to demonstrate that not only did I pay it, but you took payment for it and you accepted it already, so you can't say that you did not receive it. If I, over here, sitting here as, again, a normal pleb with a six-figure net worth, is able to demonstrate in real time that they are complete morons and literally live stream my phone calls to you with minor editing for this, just so that you don't hear my social security number, then surely somebody with a billion-dollar net worth with 4 more zeros than I should be able to do this very, very easily. Again, when I am calling the city, and I'm doing that in all these phone calls over here and these videos where I'm calling them for 40 minutes and all that, I'm not doing that with a lawyer. I'm not doing that with my CPA. I'm not doing that with the help of counsel. I'm doing that as a man in a $5 blue t-shirt sitting next to his cat in a ripped-up lounge chair. If I can prove that the city and state of New York are completely full of garbage from a ripped-up lounge chair without the help of professional counsel, then surely a man with 4 more figures on his net worth should be able to make that case very easily if he actually has a case to make. And as I've gone over it many times, it really does not take a lot of effort to do this. I'll just put on my headphone so that we could go over this. When it comes to, the lien that they had, I got the person to apologize right on the phone because they were sending my stuff to the wrong address.
So the mailing address that we have on file is P.O. Box 842, Berwick, Maine. Is that the correct address?
No, I've never lived in Maine. I've been to Maine once in my life.
What? Oh, I apologize.
Looking in the account at a glance, this collection case ID that you gave me doesn't match your account at all. And in fact, we're showing that you have no balance.
As you can see, it's actually incredibly simple to demonstrate after just providing some basic evidence that they are completely wrong. And I'm confident enough in that I will literally post the entire phone call recording to YouTube along with the entire transcript. When it comes to me just trying to ask how to obey a law that I was fined on, this is what I hear.
Picked it up and they won't answer my phone calls or text messages or emails. Does that have to get entered into the Leads Online database, or how does that work?
Whoa. I don't need to use politically charged rhetoric. I don't need to say that New York City has it out to me because I talk badly about the state, or because I don't vote the way they want me to vote, or because I lobby for right to repair. I could make those arguments. I could say all that stuff in order for my base to be excited and riled up. But at the end of the day, it's actually easier for me to just ask a basic question and then record the response, which is... Ugh. Another interesting one was when I was on the phone with the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, OATH, Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, and the person that I was directed to is so used to people simply paying the fine without actually calling the number on the summons that they didn't know how to handle it. This person's probably literally never had somebody call in before, and they admit as much over here.
Hi, I have a question for you. I have a hearing now. It's for DCA, which I've never done before.
Which I've never done before. This woman admits out loud that she has literally never done this before. This is a 3.5-hour phone call to get a basic answer, not from a normal low-level person. Judge from an Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. When I called the Supreme Court, that's, again, the Supreme Court of New York. Supreme Court. The answer that I got was literally as follows.
I guess, I don't know how to put this delicately. The elevator wasn't going to the top over there.
It really does not take much work to demonstrate, if you are being railroaded, that you are being railroaded. My audit is the only one where I did not actually live stream the content because my accountant told me that if I live streamed my audit, in spite of me being his client for over 14 years now, that he would actually kill me. And I understand why he said what he said, because live streaming your audit is an absolutely dumbass thing to do. But I've told him after this audit, where they were asking for what amounted to $600,000 at $1.2 million, and figured out at the end of it that I owed less than $6,000 because my error rate was 0.1, not 1%, 0.1%, that if I get audited by New York State again, I am literally live streaming the entire effing thing, because as I said, I have every single receipt, and I don't think they were expecting somebody like me that saves everything. When they go back 5 years and they say, what was this transaction for? I pull a receipt out and I show them. When they say, prove that this transaction happened out in New York State, I go to my shipping manifest dated January 2nd, 2018, and I pull out the shipping manifest along with the customer information to prove that it happened out of state. When they ask me for those records and they assume that I'm some bodega owner that's the first year in business that claims all of his sales are on credit card with no cash, that's obviously skimming something that they think is an easy mark, I smirk and I pull out my records and I prove them wrong because I can. You see, I save everything. I have something for everything, which is why it was easy for me to do this and why I was so confident in myself that I was happy to share the entire process transparently, 100% on YouTube, and separate my political commentary on how I cannot stand that hole from the actual evidence. Here is what New York City and state are claiming. Here is the actual evidence that proves that they are full of it. Here is the phone call transcript, fully recorded and uploaded, because it is that easy to prove. What is my point here? My point is very simple. If Mr. Trump is actually telling the truth with saying that this is a politically motivated hit and that it has no basis in fact or reality, then given that there's 4 more zeros in his net worth than mine, given that he has access to so many better resources than me, given that he's not going to be the one waiting on hold on his own, he has a team of some of the best lawyers in the country to do all the digging and put everything together for him, then he should be able to prove that very, very quickly without the politically charged rhetoric. It should be something that is actually very simple to do because, as I've demonstrated, I can literally sit here in a $5 t-shirt with no professional help in a chair that has been scratched up by a cat and prove that the supposedly greatest city on earth is run by complete morons. If I can do that, then if he has the receipts and he's telling the truth, then he should be able to do it too, and it should be very simple. And if he doesn't do that, well, and maybe, just maybe, he's might be a little guilty of some of the things that they're accusing him of. It is possible for 2 things to be true at once. New York State and New York City can be an absolute and utter shithole that will do every single thing they can to ream every last dollar out of you that is humanly possible, and they may be out to punish their political opponent, while simultaneously their political opponent might have done something that was massively stupid because that is just something that that person might be used to being able to do and get away with. As I've said many times on this channel, commercial real estate is a very, very peculiar industry. It's one of those things where you'll hear people say things like the following.
Because I mark up my prices, but I also don't lie about that I'm selling and claim it's something it's not.
They're not lying. It's commercial real estate.
It's not lying. It's commercial real estate. It is very difficult to become a real estate mogul in New York City and New York State while doing everything honestly. It's just not built into the culture in New York City, to be honest, when it comes to commercial real estate, which is a lot of what he was involved in for a very long period of time. And once you get used to doing things a certain way, because that's what everybody else is doing, it's kind of like how you do things moving forward. You know, it's kind of like piracy. Like when you're 13, you pirate stuff because you're broke and you don't even have a credit card. So even if you had money, you can't spend it. When you're 18, you pirate stuff because you're a broke college student. When you're 23, you pirate stuff because you don't have a job. And then once you're 28 and you start your own company and you actually have a little bit of money, you pirate stuff just because you were always used to pirating stuff the entire time. And then you wind up, you actually have a business when you're 34 with 100 people and you get busted by the Business Software Alliance because you're still just doing things the way you had always done them. When it comes to being a commercial real estate mogul in New York City, I mean, they're just fundamentally, Democrat, Republican, politician or not, there's just a way that those people do business, and that way of doing business is not exactly suitable to somebody who is going to be under the spotlight because they are becoming the president of the United States. And just like the person that started pirating things at 13 that is now getting in trouble with the Business Software Alliance when they have a 100-employee company at the age of 40 might just be following the same old habits they always had because that's just what they're used to doing. It is a possibility that some of the habits that he had from being a real estate mogul in the 70s and 80s might have carried over into a 2010s political campaign to become the president, which is obviously not ideal, and it obviously may not make sense given that he has enough money that if you do want to pay a porn star hush money, you should probably be able to do this without taking it out of your campaign account. But if this is just the way that you're used to doing business and it becomes a habit and you've been working with people that just think this way and do things this way for 20 or 30 years and you haven't gotten in trouble for it, then why stop now? And a part of me does wonder and does kind of think maybe, just maybe, the reason that there is so much rhetoric from him about how politically charged this is and how it's all made up and they're just doing this because they want to keep him from running president and all that might be because he doesn't actually have the binder full of receipts. He doesn't have the proof and the evidence that he did nothing wrong. And if he did, again, as I've demonstrated, defeating New York State is so easy, I can literally do it from my lounge chair. And I did it from my lounge chair, and I released a video just a few days ago where what I did was I showed you the mail that I got from New York State in this video, opening mail from New York State, where they pretty much said in the mail that they were completely wrong about everything that they had said about my business, and they removed all liens, warrants, and everything. I didn't have to hire a professional for that. I literally just sat here in my effing chair every single time that I've proven the state wrong. And there's actually a couple of others that were in this playlist, the why businesses leave New York City. There's about 2 other videos in this playlist that I didn't even include here. The time they wanted to shut down my business over licensing stuff, and all of these videos that I do, they're literally just dudes sitting in chair with receipts, and that tends to be enough. So I think it should be enough for him. But we'll see. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Those are my thoughts on this matter. That's about it. I look forward to a kind and peaceful comment section where people engage with each other in good faith without insulting or yelling or being mad. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now. But first, before we go, I'm going to pet the Clinton a little bit. We're going to pet the Clinton a little bit. Look at the Clinton. Good boy. All right. Bye now.